Work it in, work it out, work it up. Work it all the way down, tear it up. Work it in, work it out, work it up. Work it all the way down, tear it up.
We have a special guest, 2016 Olympic marathoner, Jane Vongvorachoti. Thank you for being here with us. We are so excited. Oh, how does it feel to be an Olympian?
Amazing. It feels the same, but just a lot more accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you walk down the street without people like caressing you?
Not that much.
She always dream about being an Olympic marathoner. And I was thinking, I know she played soccer for a little while, but so tell us, is that something that you've always wanted to do, being an Olympic marathoner?
Oh, when I grew up, I mean, I watched all different types of sports, but I really played soccer. And, you know, I really wanted to make that Olympic team, watching, you know, Michelle Akers and Mia Hamm on TV, and just really wanting to get out there. Those women really inspired me growing up.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I went out for the Long Island Select team, I was cut, went home crying, and I said, I am going to make the Olympics one day. And, you know, it was just a statement. I'm going to be on the national team. Maybe at that point I didn't know, but I definitely was working towards something, and I definitely knew that it took a lot of hard work to get where it was, you know, to get to the Olympics. And, you know, I read inspirational books, everything, like videos, like bought, you know, everything that needed to do with soccer or training to get to the highest level. And, you know, I put in the hard work, and I thought it would be through soccer, but it happened to be, you know, as I work so hard, a lot of it actually comes through fitness. So I improved my fitness so much. I was like, if I can't get this touch right, well, you know, I'm gonna outrun somebody. And so apparently that worked.
Yeah, apparently so. Okay, so with all the training, how did it affect your personal life and also your work life?
So, I mean, I had to not go to birthday parties, and this is like started when I was very young, but, you know, not go to birthday parties, couldn't go to those concerts, like definitely wanted to go to the NSYNC concerts and those but couldn't commit to them because you had to buy tickets way in advance, couldn't go to any of those things. You know, family time was not a lot. You know, I was always traveling for running, or when I was playing soccer, the same thing. And I was never really around. And those are some of the sacrifices that you make. And, you know, I still need to complete an education. And, you know, I went for a master's degree, but you definitely, you know, outside of those little things, you know, work and, you know, getting a degree, that kind of stuff, you know, was running, recovering.
Yeah.
So it takes definitely its toll, and, you know, but I wouldn't take any of it back.
I'm sitting here and I'm just noticing that beautiful ring on your finger. It's a gorgeous ring. I hope that the camera people can get a shot of this. I know it wasn't expected, but yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
How did that happen with all the training?
Well, he is a runner as well.
Okay, that helps,
and,
right?
You know, I definitely think this is where, like, community and the running community is so huge in New York. He was just another runner. I was happening to volunteer in, you know, Central Park's like 5K Founders 5K run. He happened to be volunteering, and you know, and he fell in love with me in a T-shirt, big gigantic T-shirt. And so, you know, having someone who understands running is really huge. I mean, I was away all of last year, mainly training in Thailand, and being, you know, months at a time away is really difficult. And, you know, so I think if you want something really bad, you know, you work at it. Just like a relationship, I think the sports really teach you that.
Oh, definitely. Okay, thanks for the little insight there. You heard it first here on Conversation Pace. All right, so another question. I'm thinking, I wonder how she felt when the gun went off and the race started. Was your heart pumping? I mean, I did Brooklyn half and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
I also ran the Brooklyn half. I also ran the Brooklyn half. I think that was more, like my heart was racing more in that than it would be for the Olympics to start with, just because, you know, in any of those races leading up to the Olympics, everything is a time trial. Like you're trying to run as fast as you can, and there's so much pressure. Not that there wasn't pressure at the Olympics, but you know, I think practicing in those situations and then running the Olympics, I didn't really feel that thrill, because I just had this checklist of this is what I need to be doing before the Olympics starts. Everything needs to be perfect. Then you're running the race. You're just trying to chase after the next person in front of you, going for place. It was actually coming through the final stretch, that 700 meters to the finish, you know, watching the flags coming. I remember watching the flags down the side. I'm like, I am finishing this race. And, you know, normally you don't, you know, pump your hands in the air. And I haven't done that ever because they're all like time trial races or I'm trying to run for a PR. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to celebrate this moment. And so I was just pumping my right hand and the left. I was like honing in my med. Desi did that too. So, yeah. And then I was like, just get to the finish line. And, you know, and it was a sigh of relief at the end. And
how emotional were you crossing that line? Any tears?
It wasn't actually, I didn't really get so many tears, but I was just looking around, more kind of like struck that you're like done after like all this hard work. You know, it's just like, you know, like you kind of, exactly. So.
And you did actually catch that too on, I think NBC Sports. I watched the entire thing. I was like, where's Jane? Where's Jane? Oh, there she is.
I think we all did during the opening ceremony.
Yeah, I was like, Jane, there she is.
Everybody was pausing. Okay, so the audience that we have runners of all levels.
Right.
What? I think this is important for those who have dreams like yours,
Right.
who want to run in the Olympics one day. What advice would you give someone like that?
Definitely, I would say that, you know, be really specific about what your goal is. Like, you know, I was like, yes, I want to go to Olympics. Okay, well, what are the times you need? You need to start planning out, like, how much time do I have to get to whatever your goal is? You know, is it the New York City Marathon is your goal? Whatever it is, okay, I have 6 months. And then kind of looking back at what you need to do. Really seeking out a coach is really important. You know, I have a strength training coach, I have a nutritionist, I have a running coach, you know, I have people I see for massage therapists. So like the people, like why I got to Olympics is because of all this huge community that has supported me to get me there. And it's really important to have these people who are specific to that area where they can tell you this is what you need to do is really important. So it's really important to have all these specialists help you out so you don't get injured in the process.
All right, so good words of advice, runners. Get that coach, it's important. So what we'll do, we'll continue the conversation. We'll be right back, guys.
Work it in, work it up, work it up. Work it all the way down, tear it up.
So we know that at your level of running, it's more than just mileage involved here, putting on all those miles. Oh, I ran 100 miles. You did more than just that. So talk about your strength training program and a little bit about your nutrition. people, people say this, oh, you put all those miles on, you can eat whatever you want.
Right.
So address things like that, because that's, to me, it just annoys me. Like, no, you can't eat whatever you want.
Right.
But first, talk about the strength training program.
So strength training, just as, in anything, you need change. As far as like running, you need to do your tempo runs, you have, speed work, and you have your long runs. So strength training is huge, and it definitely, where you place it is really important as well. And as a marathoner, most of the key strength training comes in your base. That means when you first start, you're really doing polymetric work. You're doing strength training with heavier weights. Ladies don't shy away from the heavy weights.
Yeah,
it's really
it's true.
important. You need to build those muscles so that they can support you for the 26.2 miles. Strength training, you're doing body weight things as well. A lot of the body weight stuff comes on the maintenance phase. So like you have a base phase where maybe you're hitting harder weights, polymetrics, just to get your legs ready for what you're gonna do. And then going into, when it gets closer to the marathon, a lot of maintenance work. So a lot of body weight things, a lot of injury prevention exercises are really important. So depends on each person, what your coach says or your personal trainer says. Like, we think that your IT band is, often tight, so you need to do these exercises, or your hips aren't that strong, so these are the exercises you continue to do.
Right.
So important.
So really important, especially as you're getting older as well, that you do these things. They do make you stronger.
Yes.
I was actually injury-free, and I did the most strength training in this lead up to Olympics. So definitely key to my strength training.
Yeah, I remember when I was training to qualify for Boston, with you helping me, I didn't realize how important it was to do strength training, and what we mostly did was body weight stuff. And so, yeah, thank you for helping me do that. She knows what she's doing. And nutrition. Talk about the nutrition part of being an Olympic marathoner. We wanna know all
Nutrition
the
is
goods.
huge. Like, I was a soccer player first, and not that you could eat anything, but like I was eating a little bit, desserts more often, because it doesn't affect you as much. But as a runner, especially running a marathon, like you do need to be concerned with your weight, but you can't just eat everything. A lot of people are like, oh, you're running like 80, 90 miles a week. You can have like a donut, you can have some fried food. That definitely takes its toll on you.
Yeah.
As you're getting to the really elite level, everything counts, and so I sought out a nutritionist as well, Tracy Garrigan, and she's helped me as far as like really honing in on, okay, and now I'm eating healthy and clean, but what types of things should I be eating? And so I really believe in eating right for your blood type, and that's something that I believe in. It's genetic driven, so there's stuff, just changing something from like not having peanut butter and eating almond butter to my blood type, I believe helped with my digestion and things like that, and how I felt.
So what's an average day? What does Jane eat in an average day?
When I'm training?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd wake up in the morning, depending on what the workout is. If it's an easy workout, say only like an hour run, it could be just like a banana and almond butter, and then some UCAN shake that I have before, like an hour or so before, an hour and a half, an hour before, because you want that to digest.
Right.
Then when you come back, a protein shake, and then then you have your second breakfast. I have a second breakfast, and it could be, usually when I was in Thailand, I still do it now, it's like having a little rice and some protein, so like 2 eggs, and some vegetables. Lunch would definitely be full of vegetables. Like a lot of your plate is vegetables and fruits, and a little bit of meat, some carbohydrates as well. We've worked on on easy days, less carbohydrates, and then ramping it up on days I would need it for the next hard workout. So things like that, dinner, salmon, sauteed vegetables with like healthy oils. Like it does matter what kind of oils you're using as well. Like canola oil is not the greatest. Olive oil is great. Coconut oil. So those kinds of things. So small changes really helped in the last part of my training, and I've been the lightest going in to this marathon than I've been previously. And a lot of it also is I had my soccer body, which needs to change when you're changing sport.
Okay.
And what about little rewards along the way? Do you allow yourself to?
Yeah, where's that donut flavor now? That's what I want to know. Where
I
can have
never
that
really
donut?
like donuts, but I
What's
definitely.
your cheat food of choice?
I do love ice cream. So like, it'd be like some kind of like frozen yogurt and stuff like that. But I didn't even really, when you're really training and you're working out, your body actually doesn't really crave that.
Right.
And like even when I
stuff,
finished the marathon, the Olympics, like Sean was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I don't know, just like sushi." Like expensive sushi. You don't really crave those things, and I think for the upcoming runner and those who are trying to change their lifestyle, it's going to be hard in the beginning, and you don't cut out everything. I think that's the worst thing possible, because then you just eat it, you indulge in it, like when you have that rough day. So like maybe every other day, you used to eat chocolate chip cookies every day, every other day, and then slowly, taking that away.
Speaking of up-and-coming runners, I know that a lot of people are running New York City and Chicago for the first time. Any suggestions or tips for people running their first marathon?
I definitely say that you have to do your research, and you should definitely ask people who have competed in those races. So if it's a marathon, ask some of your friends, how did it feel like? What are some of the things that were hard during the marathon? Really try to understand the race. The marathon is very difficult. Do not go into it unprepared. Seek some coaches. Go to these clinics. There's tons of clinics that New York Roadrunner puts on. A lot of coaches in the city put on like free clinics. Learn as much as you can, because some people run a marathon and they didn't really train for it and they never want to run again. And I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I just want to say one of my favorite clinics was the Central Park Track Club clinic marathon camp, boot camp.
Yeah.
Tony had.
Yeah, that Tony had, because he's so fun.
Yeah, he is.
He always has like a physical therapist or a nutritionist, so you get a lot of, and even his little secrets that he
Little
uses for
one-on-ones.
for his own team and his one-on-one training. So he likes to share information. He loves to talk. I can't wait to have him on the
He
show.
sure does.
So yeah, that's another clinic you may want to check out too. But they're all over the city, so there's no excuses.
Right.
People, don't email me though. All right, so let's get to the last question. We talked about running coaches, but let's talk specifically about the coaches that you use, then the process you use to choose those coaches. Let's, give us a little insight on that.
So I mean, like I said, I was a soccer player, came out of it, ran my first race actually for charity, Charlie's Fund, and then, as a natural competitor, I said, okay, what are the teams out there? And I kind of looked at Nyack, I looked at Central Park Track Club, they were kind of up there, and so I went to Central Park Track Club because I had a friend that ran for Central Park, and I worked with Devin and Tony through my first 4 years of running. And I think, they helped me grow a lot, and I learned a lot through it. And I came to a point where I said, I need more, and I need to expose myself to different types of coaches possibly that can help me, that are very specific to distance running, and also one-on-one attention. And so I know I've been running for 6 years, which is pretty short for some runners looking at that, going to the Olympics. But, I was like, okay, let me see if I can do so. I went to a lot of coaching clinics, I got on my certification. I worked on actually self-coaching. I was like, maybe I know my body, let's try this. And I ended up running a fast time, but I said, I need a coach. And so Thailand said, you have a qualifying time. I went to Thailand and I worked with a coach from Kenya, and I learned a whole slew of different things from him.
Wow.
But I really loved New York, and I was like, I need to be around competitive people in the most competitive environment I can. And so I came back to New York and was looking at who's out there, and I came across John Henwood. I knew of his name before. He ran in the Olympics, and I needed someone who could give me the time of day to coach me one-on-one. So I worked with him, and he also, I think what you want to look for also, depending on your goals, is, you know, what do you want out of your coach? And I wanted a coach who can talk with me and we can merge two programs together, what I really thought worked and what he thinks works, and that worked really well, and he had a lot of time for me. He was able to run some of the workouts with me too, so
Awesome.
and so I think that was really huge in my progress this year.
Well, Jane, I've known you for a long time. So I remember when you first started running, and I was wondering at what point, you know, from starting your running career until now, at what point did you find out that these are the things that are working for you, and you know, this is how I'm improving and getting faster?
As a runner and as an athlete, you're always analyzing, and so I think when I first started running, you know, everything was a PR, and that was great. And then when you started to hit kind of like hitting around the same times, like my half marathon times kind of stuck a little bit, and it didn't really improve so much. I knew I needed to change something, and you know, Devin definitely helped me change some of those things, like working on speed. So you look at the aspects of what happens in your race and what's working and not working. And so I found that I can hold this pace for a very long time, but I didn't have this speed. So I worked on that speed aspect, and so you're constantly looking at what you need to do to improve. And I think for any runner, you need to look at those things. If you're just running a race, oh, that was really hard. But you really need to look deep. And I think for anyone reaching any goals, like, am I improving or am I staying the same? And what is it that I need to do to make the next step? And it's usually like, I want to lose 10 pounds, I've lost 5. What's going to take the last 5 off? Like, what is it that I really need to do? So, yeah.
Jane, you're such a competitive person, and you set very, very high goals for yourself, which I
Right.
admire so much.
High up there.
So on your journey to the Olympics, how did you deal with setbacks? Like, let's say you're training for a race and you didn't hit that time. How do you deal with that mentally,
Right.
physically, but also
Right.
mentally, to get back up and get back out there and keep moving forward?
So definitely, I mean, I mentioned in many articles too, and like when I talk to people, there's definitely been setbacks, because trying to hit 2012, I was like, okay, maybe I didn't have enough time.
Right.
And then I really had to analyze it. Like I said, like analyzing is huge, but really coming back and saying, really kind of also being hard on yourself, like, okay, maybe I wasn't ready. These are things I need to do, and you know, and I don't think just like taking it step by step and talking to my coaches and talking to teammates. And you know, I've been through injury like plantar fasciitis as well, but you know what, like in every failure you learn something, and you become stronger from it. Like, I don't have issues as much with plantar fasciitis. I know when I get that little ache a tiny bit, like, okay, what do I need to do? And so I think that every injury, every setback prepares you for your final goal and getting there, and it makes you much stronger, and you are more 100% prepared for that day that you're going to shine. So, you know, yeah.
Jane, you're going to get married soon.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And
Yeah.
you told us you're moving to London.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of big life changes coming yourself. How do you see your running changing as these other big changes come into your life?
I think that, you know, I mean, my lifetime goal was the Olympics. And then, you know, right now, definitely I think relationship is a big part of, you know, why I succeed. And so this time I'm choosing to move to London, not to be away. And hopefully that makes me even stronger. And I know I'm going to have to find a new running community and that kind of thing. but I think really it's a balance
Yeah.
of stuff. And this is not the end of Jane's running career. There's like world championships and possibly another Olympics. So I think everything is balance. And I don't think, like, yes, I've had sacrifices, but there is like that person that has been there or that has been family when I've needed it. So I think really important to have that balance, not to just be, I'm 100% training and I have nothing,
And nothing
I'm not
else.
talking to anybody, right?
Jane, you mentioned 10,000 meter bronze.
Right.
And that made me think, what did you start with? Did you start like, I want to run a marathon when you started? Or did you do track first or cross country and then kind of went into longer distances? What distance did you start running at and how did that change?
So I started I had stopped soccer literally May, June of 2010. And I started working at Equinox as a personal trainer and literally was asked to run a half marathon. So my first race was a half marathon. And
Did
actually
you train
finished
for that marathon, or were
a
you one of
month and a
those
half.
who, yeah?
month and a half. And I was like,
We all do that in the beginning. It's
Right.
like we just do it.
but it's really important, like for I think even these people who aspire to run the marathon, don't run marathon after marathon after marathon. Like
Yeah.
I ran a cross country. I ran that half, then came back for a half. Cross country, went to indoor track, outdoor track, and
Right.
it's really important to cycle through so you're not stagnant and you
Right.
don't want to be running the same pace over and over again. And it's something that like it freshens you and gets you excited.
Yeah.
So I think you always need some kind of excitement, even if it's scary. Like running a 5K, I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
It's like it'll probably, hopefully it's not the same pace as
tomorrow.
a marathon.
Right. So, ladies, I hope you learned something today.
Yeah, a lot.
All those who keep
Yeah.
running over and over, running races after race after
Don't
race.
look at me.
Thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll be right back. All right. Thank you for joining us and letting us bring you up to speed at Conversation Pace.
Work it